Welcome to a Champion's Journey podcast. I'm Matt Davidson. From an early age, I've had the privilege of learning from world champions and world-class performers, and I've always been fascinated by what drives them to the pinnacle of achievement. In this podcast, I'll interview high performers to learn more about the habits and rituals which have helped them on the road to championship victory. For the last 10 years, the four-way Formation Skydiving team, SDC Rhythm XP, has struggled to achieve victory at the U.S. National Skydiving Championships. A year and a half prior to competition at the 2019 U.S. Nationals, it seemed as though Rhythm's chances for victory had slipped through their fingers once again after team member Doug Barron was involved in a catastrophic skydiving accident. In this episode, Doug shares the incredible story of how he overcame crippling and potentially career-ending injuries and went on to win Nationals gold, earning the right to represent the United States later this year at the 2020 World Parachuting Championships in Tanay, Russia. Today joining us on the podcast is Doug Barron. Doug's doing a training camp here at Skydiving Paraclete XP, and he's taking time out of his busy schedule to come and be on the podcast. Doug, how are you doing, buddy?
Very good, very good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks again for coming out. I just want to say congratulations on your U.S. National Championship win. It was great for me to have a front row seat to your incredible comeback story. How did it feel?
It's still kind of surreal. It was surreal in the moment. Kind of undescribable. I don't know. Like, there was so much emotion and everything. I actually remember I'd have to go back and, like, watch videos of the live feed or whatever to really understand. Like, we were just kind of in our corner, and when everything happened, it just kind of everything blocked out. So I didn't really get to experience the whole aspect of it until after the fact, really.
Yeah, it was so cool to watch you guys up there on the podium and celebrate. It was a little bittersweet for me at the right in the moment, but I really think it's so cool after everything that you've gone through and the relatively short amount of time, extremely short amount of time that it took you from the injury to recover and get back, to winning on the national stage.
Yeah, it was. So I guess I got hurt in April of 2018. And then at Nationals end of September. It was like 17 months, something like that.
Yeah.
Just over a year, or just under a year and a half. It was quite the journey, I would say.
Yeah. So if you can tell people out there that don't know about your accident, if you can kind of just give us some detail about what happened.
Sure. No, I had an AED activation when I was landing. So it resulted in a 2-out scenario and essentially stalled the canopies, and then I just fell. I fell approximately 40 feet or so onto asphalt. I broke my back, I broke my left heel, and destroyed my right tib, and then I broke my fib too.
Man. So if you can just tell us a bit about your recovery and what was the first memory you had? Were you conscious?
Oh yeah,
the whole thing?
I remember the whole thing. Like briefly, I remember rolling out of the turn, and I was like, I could feel myself accelerating. I was like, oh, this is fantastic. I got the bottom end dialed in. Like, feel myself picking up speed, and then almost immediately after that, I felt the container open, and then I felt the reserve risers hit my hand, and then I remember looking down and then seeing the top of the tail of the otter. And then knew that I was just like, at that point I felt like I knew that I was falling. And I was like, this is not going to be good. And I landed like right between the fence and the parked otter in Sebastian.
Wow. If you can just tell us some about your recovery. I imagine going through something like that would be so incredibly overwhelming. I just can't even imagine.
It's, so in the beginning, like I can't think of the word, like what they thought the prognosis was kind of not very good. They said that it might be over a year before I can walk again because of how badly broken my leg was. So I was in the hospital in Melbourne for 3 weeks, just over 3 weeks, maybe 22 days. And then I got transported to a rehab facility in Rock Hill, which is like where my insurance was based out of, so that's where I had to go. And then I was there for about 2 more weeks. And then I was in a wheelchair until July. And then that's when I was first able to start weight bearing again. This is July of 2018. So 3 months after the accident in a wheelchair. So that was a fun experience to learn like how to live life in a wheelchair with a back brace, and like you can't just like get up to go to the bathroom. You have to put your back brace on. You have to get into a wheelchair. You have to like wheel yourself around. So learning all of that, and then kind of learning how to walk again was not the most fun thing in the world to do, but you know, those are all parts of what I had to go through, and I think just makes you stronger. It really does. You know, like you can either choose to continue to push forward and make progress, or not do anything, and you're never going to get better. So,
what were some of the things that kept you going through the darker moments?
Really, the support that I had through the sport and my family. Like, I owe so much to my team, my family, and like the community of skydiving. They just like constantly people talking and asking how I was doing and staying involved in the sport, like being able to coach a team when I wasn't jumping, and like giving yourself a sense of worth that you can still do things, and staying motivated and being involved. Like, they really owe a lot of the recovery to the community that helped me stay involved and motivated. That's a big part of it.
At some point, Jeanette came and made a visit with you, right?
Oh yeah, well, there was a lot of visits for sure, but Jeanette had this like elaborate scheme planned for my birthday, because my birthday was in May, or is in May, and she had worked out like a whole worldwide sticker and tattoo thing with my face on it. And I woke up in the morning, and I was staying at my sister's house at the time, and my 3 little nephews walked into the room, and they had tattoos of my face on their arms. And I was like, what the hell? And then, like hundreds, maybe thousands of people post pictures that just sent them to me on my birthday to like say, hey, we're behind you. And I had no idea. Like, she had schemed this whole elaborate surprise, and it was pretty remarkable, like, that she put all that together. So again, yeah, much thanks for that, because that was in the middle of some very depressive times. It's rough, yeah. Like, you have emotions that you have to fight with, and then along with not being able to do things physically. So it's really good to have that support and like see the support from all over the world.
I still find those stickers sometimes around the house. Jeanette gave us quite a few of them, but that was a lot of fun. And it, certain things like that kind of bring the community together, and it's really a testament to the community, the great community in our sport, that they rallied behind you, and it's also a testament to you and how well loved you are in the sport.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and it kind of it opened my eyes to like people know who I am and actually kind of care, and like it was a huge part in staying motivated to keep pushing forward, because there are many times where you're sitting on the couch and you're like looking at broken legs and you can't walk, and like the easiest thing to do is just not to do anything right now. But I know that if I want to get better, like I got to go outside and push myself up this hill that I've been trying to push myself up for the last 2 weeks. And yeah, there's like a cliche, like you have a choice, like you either have a choice to continue to move forward or not to do anything. And I just would have to tell myself that pretty much every day, that like you need to make the choice to get up and do, or not get up, but you need to go do something. And
wow. It was cool to see your posts, and to you were pretty lengthy in the posts in a good way, because it felt like it really got the message across as to just how bogged down and how difficult of a situation, that would be. And I can only imagine when I've had minor injuries before, something that keeps me down for a week or two, that feels overwhelming. And when you're in that moment, you're like, man, am I ever going to get better? Am I ever going to, get back to? So coming back from a catastrophic injury like that and being in those kind of moments, I can only imagine what kind of nightmare that would be.
Yeah. And like, I chose to do that because like, there, at least in my knowledge, there isn't like another situation where someone has been so public about it. And sometimes when people post things, if they're hurt, it's just like, hey, I'm getting better. I'm like, no, like I want people to understand what you actually have to go through. And after the first or second post, I actually had a couple of people reach out to me that had also been hurt at around the same time. And they said that reading those things really helped them in recovery and like kept them motivated. And they're like, okay, I'm not the only one that feels this way. This is really how it is, but I'm not alone, and it helped. And that was another reason why I wanted to continue those posts, like until I started walking or jumping again, just to let people know what it really was like. Like, you have no one really knows what you have to go through when you're in that situation. And it can be really frustrating and scary because you're like, well, I don't know what to expect. It's like when I was in the hospital, the last thing we had to have was the second surgery on my leg. And that was like the big goal. And you think, okay, they're going to do the surgery and then I'm going to feel great and everything's being okay. Like I woke up from that operation and I was in more pain than I'd ever been in. And then you think, well, did something go wrong? Why does it feel like this? And the doctor looks at me, he's like, we just drilled 30 holes in your leg. Like, it's going to feel really bad. And it's that same thing. Like, I didn't have that understanding or that expectation before the surgery. And I had no idea what the recovery was going to be like because no one had shared that. And I wanted to let people know, like, this is real. Like, I'm not going to hide anything. You know, there were days where I was like, I'm really depressed. This sucks. Like, you never feel like you're going to get better. But I also think it helped people, and that's why I wanted to keep doing it. And I still keep in contact with a couple of people that have reached out. And because the community helped me so much, I just want to give back as much as I can. I really can't say enough that, like, how much I owe a lot of the recovery to the people that were surrounding me. It was really, really helpful.
That's so awesome. Yeah, it's a really special sport that we have here in the community that's involved in it. What advice would you have for people who might be listening to this that are in the type of situation that you are in?
Yeah, make that choice. Like, even if it's one simple thing that you do, like having that one accomplishment for the day makes a big difference. Like when you can start really doing things independently, even if it's just like going to the bathroom and brushing your teeth, but always continue to push forward. And you have to set goals, every day. Like we would go on a walk around my sister's neighborhood when I was staying there, and there's this big hill at the end of the walk that I had to push myself up in a wheelchair. In the beginning, I could make it like maybe a third of the way up, and then my dad or mom would have to push me all the way up. And like to have that goal that every day I was like, I want to push myself all the way to the top. And like you get closer and closer, but to set those goals and just continue to push forward, you cannot stop. Like there were times where I stopped and it just got worse, and then you get more depressed. And when you make the choice to continue to push forward and never give up, I mean, it's all the cliche things, never give up, don't stop, but it really makes a difference. And I think when you set smaller goals that are achievable, even in the day, it helps you to stay motivated, to give you worth, and to tell you that you can do things.
So those things might sound cliche, but they're cliche for a reason because obviously they work. You know, you're living proof that
many
those
times,
things work.
many times I would think I would be sitting there like, all those cliches, like you laugh at them, but like they are real. Like you have to make the choice. You have to keep going. You cannot stop. And reach out. A lot of people feel that once they get into that situation that they're alone and that there's no one else that can understand what's going on or anything like that. Like if anybody ever wants to talk to me, I'm absolutely open for it, man. Like I want to help as many people as I can throughout this because it's life-changing, and it really redefines like what's important in life and what you want to do. But never feel like you're alone. And if you are emotionally feeling really bad, like you got to go talk to somebody because it's just going to get worse if you don't. And living proof, you have to talk to people and like reach out to people. Everyone is there for you, I'm sure. I promise. I'm there for you.
That's awesome. You said it was life-changing. In what ways specifically do you think that it's changed your life?
It makes you understand like what you really value and what's really important to you. Like I know that I want to give back to the sport as much as I can now because of just how great the people are in the community and how special it is. And like my family, family's always been very important to me, but also like as much as my family helped out, like my sister offered her house to us. And at one point it was my mom, my dad, my sister, her 3 boys, her husband, my girlfriend at the time, 2 dogs all living in this house together because I'm her brother. And she was like, you need to be here and we can take care of you. And so really understanding like what's really important and the values of that, like my family and the community, and kind of redefined what I want to do in the sport now is just help and give back as much as I can because we're a part of something super, super special.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was for me, it was painful to see you when you first started getting back like into the tunnel and doing some flying. I could just see, just the way that you were walking, how much pain you were in, and just watching you over the months kind of transform and then to become at the end of that national champion, man, it's been quite a journey to watch.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's almost surreal. Like this year, I made my first jump back like April 21st, like just over a year after the accident. And then we had our first training camp like the beginning of May. And I think we did 4 or 5 jumps in the first day, and I woke up the next day and like physically couldn't walk. I was in so much pain. And like I went to the drop zone, and I was like, well, I mean, if you guys can kind of carry me onto the airplane and like help me get there, like I can get out and in free fall I'm okay, and I'll just slide in my landings. And they looked at me, they're like, no, man, like you can't. Like you did 5 jumps yesterday, and like I couldn't walk. It was pretty terrible. And then that was like another time like I had to start questioning if I was the right person for them at that time. Like if I needed to step down and let myself heal more because in 5 jumps, I couldn't walk. We had to take another day off of training. But I owe a lot of that to my team as well, and they stood behind me and they were like, no, we want you to be here. We want you to do this with us. And so I mean, we didn't really start jumping a lot until maybe end of May, June time when I could continue to train more, and they were the ones that stuck right behind me. So I owe a lot to them as well.
That's awesome. That says a lot about them. There's some special people that wouldn't just count you out. At the, because it did seem like a almost insurmountable challenge. When you kind of looked at it from the outside, and
for sure, yeah.
When you couldn't do that next day. At the same time, it's I know that struggle sometimes when just the few minor injuries that I've had. You don't want to let your team down. You don't want to step out, so that the training doesn't go on because you've got the other people on your team depending on you. But on the other hand, I can, just imagine that you probably had some doubts in those times.
Yeah, and I kind of didn't want to talk to him about it in the very beginning, but I had to have the internal dialogue with myself if I was like, I don't want to hold these people back. They waited for me. And like you said, in any other professional sport, like if you got hurt like that, good luck,
Yeah.
Like we were behind you, but good luck with getting back. And for them to want to take me back against all of like logical reasoning that's like this person's really injured, and then for them to take me back, like it just shows that this is the group of people. They're just super special, and like their faith in me really helped as well. It helped me stay motivated. And then we kind of started talking like in the beginning of training. A lot of the comments were like, man, you're doing really well from where you came from. And then I remember like about a month into it, I was like, listen, guys, I don't need to hear you're doing really well from where you came from. I need Steve, I need you to be the one to be like, hey, I need your hip here closer. Like I need you to treat me more of like your peer now, because that's what I want to hear. That's going to push me to keep getting better. Is not like, oh, you did good for being injured. Like I don't want that like asterisk anymore. I want to be treated like my old self, where you need to bring your hip here, or you need to do this. And they did that, and they respected that a lot. And yeah, they helped just so much, like continue to push me to get better. And when you're surrounded by people like that inspire you to continue to get better, it's just a situation that's hard to describe. You're always inspired to do better every day because of the people around you.
Yeah, you guys have had an incredible journey as a team, and it was good to see that capped off with nationals. And I'm sure it's exciting that you guys are doing preparations, getting ready to go to the World Championships in Russia.
Yeah, it's such a surreal thing, and to do it in a jump off, and then to win by 1 point. And I remember we were in the loading area for the jump off, and Craig Gerard came up to us, and he was like, I've only been in one jump off in my life, in his whole competition career. And he's like, we lost, and it was still the best memory I've ever had. He's like, cherish this right now. And yeah, he said that, and like I just looked at my team, and I knew that we were going to win. We had such high confidence in each other, and we were just in that flow state that you talk about in like sports psychology. It's such an amazing experience when you can get into a mindset like that with that group of people, and you just go. And that's where we were. It was awesome. It was such an incredible experience.
That's great. Yeah, Craig told me that same thing in 2005 when we were doing a jump off with DeLand Fire. And it didn't work out so well for us that year, and it didn't work out so well for us this year, so I got to quit having jump offs, I guess. But, so when did your journey start with SDC Rhythm XP?
Andrew and I joined Rhythm after Nationals in 2015. It was just Thanksgiving time. Yeah, that's when we officially made the switch. They approached us after Nationals was over, and then it took us like 2 months to make the decision back and forth with the Drop Zone Skydive Carolina and their ownership, just because we'd started Turbo there and like we just loved that drop zone and they supported us so much in the past that it was really hard to leave, but everyone understood that we were moving on for bigger and better things. And that was another thing, like Danny, the owner of Skydive Carolina, and Rook, after we won this year, like saw each other and he shook their hand and like they were very supportive of each other. And it was good to see that, you know, because like I owe a lot to Skydive Carolina as well of how, like helping me get to where I am. They supported us when we were just in college, you know, a bunch of hooligans running around. So to answer the question short, just after Thanksgiving 2015.
Okay, yeah, it was cool to see you guys. You know, I get to witness your progression from Turbo, you know, and getting up to Rhythm and then Rhythm On. But, you know, it was really cool to have, you know, been seen and be a part of that. And getting back to Rook, I thought it was super cool at Nationals that he flew all the way down once he found out that you guys won.
Yeah, we had no idea. And apparently the story is, so they were flying the Caravan in Chicago for tandems and jumping or whatever, and when he was watching the scores, he fueled it all the like full of fuel and switched everybody to the Otter, lowered the minimum so they could keep jumping the Otter. And then when he saw that we won, he called John here in Paraclete, and he was like, "I'm leaving Chicago right now. I'll be there in 3.5 hours. Hold the awards until I get there." And it was like perfect timing because they just about to start open awards. And, like, we hear this airplane pulling up, and, like, I look out into the hangar, and, you know, it's just a mass of people. And then I'm like, what? Like, who is this guy who's just pulling up to the front of the hangar? And then I could see the tail come across on, like, the top of the SDC, and I was like, what? Like, who? And then I just see him and Heidi walk out, and we were like, what? It was an incredible experience. And to have that support from them is just remarkable. I mean, like, he was so proud and so happy, and he showed, like, he flew all the way to the drop zone just to be there. That's why we pulled him up on the stage, too, just to thank him for everything that he's done for us.
Yeah, that's awesome. Get a great drop zone up there. I really enjoy training up there. Really cool.
It's a remarkable facility. It's incredible. I love being in Chicago. It's so much fun. Such a great drop zone.
Let's go back a little bit further now. I want to, you know, just so we can learn more about your journey, how you started skydiving, how you got into the sport.
So I'm second generation. My father's a jumper as well. He's been jumping since I was about 5, so I've been a drop zone rat. Like, I would go to the drop zones with him on the weekends when I was young and just hang out. And he took me on my first 2 tandems when I was 16, and then I started AFF shortly after that, like August of 2003. Yeah, wow, that's a long time ago. And I jumped a little bit in high school and the first couple of years in college, but when we got onto the team in college, that's when I started jumping more heavily and got really motivated to get on the team and keep training. But so second generation, that's how I started. It was pretty cool because he took me on my first 2 tandems, and then when I got my tandem rating, he was an evaluator, so I actually took him on 2 tandems as well.
Nice.
So kind of like full circle. It's pretty cool
That's
to
awesome.
do that. Yeah, it was a very interesting experience.
Your dad's a great guy. I really enjoyed being around him. We were doing some, I think he was a part of one of the 4-on-4 8-way camps maybe a few years ago now. But yeah, we really had a good time together. Where was that when you were a kid? When you were around 5 years old, you said.
Mm-hmm. So we traveled like we moved a lot when we were growing up. So he first started jumping in Maytown. So I met Dave DeWolf like many years ago, and we have some funny stories with Dave DeWolf. And then we moved to Georgia, and he jumped in Rome, Georgia, with Collis Griffith and Mary Jane. And then we moved to Maryland, and then he jumped at Hartwood, which is in Virginia. And then I started jumping when he started jumping at Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, with J.R. Sides and the Sides family up there.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
So we're kind of all over the place.
Yeah. What are some of the stories, maybe a story or two about Dave DeWolf?
So I remember we would go to the grocery store in the morning before jumping, and we'd be walking down the grocery store aisle, and an attractive woman would be coming up, and then he would say, hey, when she passes us, say, hey, Grandpa, isn't it too bad Grandma left you right before you won the lottery? And like, as this woman passes us, I would say him, and so he'd try to use me to pick up women and stuff. But yeah, Dave was very cool. I remember one time they were about to get on the airplane. Like, literally, the Cessna's pulling up, and they're about to board, and I was, like, maybe 6 years old. And I was like, hey, Dad, don't you guys need to dirt dive? And they're like, we're about to get on the plane. Like, we already did that. But I just remember, like, that was a cool, like, those were words that they said, and I didn't really know what they meant, and I just, like, wanted to fit in, so I said those words to them, and they're like, yeah, we got it. Thanks, Doug. Like, we're getting on the plane.
Nice. Yeah, there's similarities with me, too. I said my dad was jumping with the military parachute clubs here on Bragg, and got me jumping when I was around 16 years old, too. But, yeah, that's cool. What are some of the biggest challenges that you've faced, in like team training, for example, and with Turbo, and then later on with Rhythm?
With Turbo, it was that we were just really, really poor. We decided to go full time, and luckily the drop zone was super, super supportive, and we were able to train Tuesday through Friday. And then we would work as instructors doing tandems or AFF or whatever on Saturday and Sunday. And, I mean, that was our only work, was to do tandems. Pretty much we would do tandems on Saturday to hopefully pay for pack jobs and jumps up during the week. And, like, if it was bad weather on Saturday, we're like, oh, well, hopefully we can eat something this next week. But luckily we were super supported by the drop zone, and, like, they helped us train a lot. But, I mean, at that time, honestly, it was just that we were really, really broke. And just counted every penny, like when I saw a comma in a bank account, it was pretty important. Yeah. It was exciting. And now with Rhythm, scheduling is a big thing, like everybody's really busy and we need to like build the schedule. Like, so we try to do that, a couple of months before the start of the year that we're coming into. But that logistics side, I mean, we have so much support, which really, really helps. And now it's like just making sure that everyone can get their schedules organized so we can all make sure that the training is occurring and getting the jumps that we need to get.
What advice would you have for guys or girls that are wanting to form a team that might be in the same position you were in when you guys started Turbo?
Ask for help. From outside sources. Like, I wish we had more guidance in the very beginning on, like, how to set up training and how to make it efficient, and, like, having a training plan for the season. And then there's kind of two thought processes or methodologies, and this is what somebody told us when we were on Turbo. They're like, you either have a budget and you go to the budget, or you have a dream or a goal, and then you figure out how to make it happen. And both ways are fine, and we chose the one that was figure out and make it happen, because we just try to do as much as we could. But to set a plan, and like, it's really good to make sure that you actually have a schedule and a plan set out early, like, and that everyone agrees to. Definitely talk about goals that each person has for the year and for the team, and what they want to do and how that fits into the training program, and make sure that everybody's on board. The worst thing to have is like different expectations that are never talked about, and that's when you can get animosity and things like that. So like, to have a good plan and similar goals and expectations for the season is like the biggest starting point.
Yeah, I've found through my own experience that communication is definitely key, and like at least once a week or so, just sitting down and making sure that everybody voices their concerns and matters that need to be addressed. And once that communication starts to break down, then it's hard to come back after a certain amount of time. Yeah.
Have a pass the rock session, right?
Right.
At least once a week, maybe, or once a month, maybe.
Yeah.
That way everybody kind of gets everything off their chest. But in the beginning, to help combat anything like that beforehand, like a plan for the season and shared and similar goals is very important.
What, if anything, would you have done differently, looking back on it in hindsight?
I don't think, honestly, I wouldn't do anything. Like, this year, I kind of said that to myself, like, everything coming to fruition and winning and being the U.S. team. Like, all of the questionable decisions that I made, or not questionable, but things that could have gone either way, opportunities I passed on or decisions I made that I was like, is this the right one? Winning this year with this group of individuals, it just made everything, it solidified every choice that I ever made. I was like, this is the way I want to win. These are the people that I want to win with. This is how I want to win. Like, it just made all the choices that I've made, I knew that I made the right ones.
More specifically, maybe at the time that you were going through Turbo and just forming a team at that time, is there anything you would have done differently as a team or personally to kind of restructure and made things more efficient or
yes, smooth? In the beginning, we got as much coaching as we could, but to have a more structured plan for how the season went and like how we were utilizing our training, I think that could have helped us increase it or progress a little bit faster. And that just comes with time. You know, the more experience I am in with it now, like we have different phases during the year that we go through. And I think some of those mentalities could have helped us a lot when we were growing up, like when we were coming up.
Okay.
But some of it is just kind of trial by fire, and I like to learn the hard way on some things. So
yeah, for sure. Sometimes you have to experience that stuff for yourself. But I'll bet once you guys got to once you and Andy got to Rhythm, that they already had a pretty solid plan and schedule, right? So when you guys came into that, what were some of the things that you learned?
Oh yeah, the analytics that they have is, I mean, I don't think anybody has as much numbers and data on everything that they do, which is super exciting. And then they introduced us and pushed us to develop our own ideas of like how we can structure training and like how we think new ideas that can make us better. A lot of it's like on the dedicated training practice, and we read some books about like dedicated training and how to implement that, and we would all kind of have different ideas. So it was exciting to have more of a direction, but still have it be up to us of like how we want to implement it into our training. So that was really fun and very exciting to have. You know, when you have something new, then you're really motivated to do it.
Yeah. Did you guys have a rotating team leader there? Or do you have one person?
We have like a rotating logistics captain, but Jeanette does a lot of like the season-long planning, structured for the team and how we want to implement things. She takes everybody's information. She asks for our opinions on everything, and then she'll implement kind of a training plan of what we want to see for the week. Like we have kind of like what our week plan is and like what the goals are for those camps, and then like in months we're kind of like, okay, we're in learning phase or we're in speed phase or these types of things. So like with that phase that we're in, each week we'll have like a different focus of how we can achieve a goal for the week.
Okay, is that pre-planned beforehand, or do you remain fluid with that if you need to change along the way?
Like the bigger picture phases, like learning and speed and then comp prep and things like that, that's kind of pre-planned for the year, you know, based on how many jumps we're doing and how many training days we have. And then, each week we will have like a different goal of how we can increase whatever we're trying to increase in that phase, you know?
Yeah, okay. You know, working a little bit in the past with Steve and Jeanette and you guys, you know, it's you guys are one of the more cerebral teams that I've ever been at, you know, super analytic. Do you find that there's a point where that could hurt a little too much?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's with anything. When you are constantly assessing and trying to debrief or fix something, it will hinder like your performance. If you can't go into a state where you're just going or just flow or just trusting, it's easy because you can have brain locks, you can have distractions, things like that. If something's not perfect and you start thinking about it, you need to be like in competition in the jump. You need to just be going, trust everybody, trust your teammates, and just go. Like at that point, it's trust in your training, right? We're still trying to see the pictures and everything happen, but when you get distracted by debriefing or seeing something and try to make adjustments, then that's when glitches can happen and things like that. Yeah. So yeah, there's definitely a balance between the both.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest challenges for me for four-way coming from 8-way, where, you know, I've just had so much experience with it over the years that it was more second nature to me. But the 4-way and being in a different slot, you know, felt like being a student again, and anything like that was just magnified, any kind of those problems. So if I had something where, you know, where I get distracted, it's moving so fast that you have a little brain lock, and that could, you know, shut things
it could
down
be a
for 3 or 4 points, you know. Whereas an 8-way, if you have a brain lock, you know, it might cost you a couple points, but you get a little more time to react and respond to it. Yeah, it's just you know, going back to nationals, it was you know, it was bittersweet for me at the time because you know, on the one hand, but on the other hand, even though I'd invested a lot into it at the time, I'd only been doing it for a few months, and it was our first competition together. So I was super excited to see you guys, excuse me, up on the podium and see how excited you were, and see how excited Jeanette was, and see how excited everybody was for you guys. You know, it was really cool. Like I can't remember a competition where, just everybody that was watching and the tension that was building over that jump off and just seeing everybody erupt, it was really cool.
Yeah, it went from like dead silence where you could hear a pin drop to like just eruption. And like I said earlier, I didn't realize like how many people were there or how loud it really was because we were just kind of in the corner, like right in the front. And like when it happened, we all just looked at each other and were hugging and crying and doing all that stuff. And then it wasn't until like a week later I like went and looked at some videos people had posted, and I was like, "There's a lot of people here, and they were really loud, and this was pretty cool." Even like I said, still now it seems like surreal that this happened, but it couldn't have happened with a better group of people. And yeah, I mean we went into nationals. We wanted to be back to where we were before I got hurt at the end of 2017. And after the training jumps we did before with Elliot, who's like the unsung hero, we could talk about that later. We had done like 100 or just under 200 jumps like that this past season before nationals, before we got to XP. And we were like, oh, well, let's go get them and give it our best. And then we did a couple of draws the week before at national, and like we were up in the high 25s, and like, wow, this is fantastic. Like we're back to where we were. Like let's go give it our all. And the jumps just felt great. It was just like super confidence building, and everybody in the jump was just really into it, and very lighthearted mood between the team. We just had a lot of confidence in each other, and it was a super cool thing to be a part of.
That's really cool. What can you tell us why Elliot was the unsung hero?
Oh yeah. So we trained with him just a week before nationals, and we did 25 jumps with him. So like he didn't even get to see all the exits or anything. And we were like, "Hey, you're going to shoot video for us. Here's some training jumps, and oh yeah, you need to be perfect." And then so he was, and he was remarkable. And I'll tell. So on like the third or fourth training jump we did, it was an O exit, and he fell on us in training, and he was like a little shook up after it. But when we landed, I just started yelling and laughing. I was like, "We got him! We got him!" and then he said that kind of helped him lighten his heart about it. And then we did a couple more O exits, and he nailed it. And then we get the draw, and then round 3 out the doors an O. And he was a little bit nervous about that, but he was so calm and collected and super confident when he was with us. I may have seen his hand shake a little bit, like on round 11, we're in the airplane, we do our handshake, and he puts his hand up and just starts shaking a little bit. But and then for round 11, the exit is 17, and the count's like super hidden inside the airplane, hard to see, and of course he nails it. And I mean, for him to have only 25 jumps with us and have a perfect meet in a jump-off situation for the U.S. team slot, like, it's incredible, and he was amazing, and it's just a testament to how skilled and how awesome of a person Elliot is.
Yeah,
like,
he sure
calm and collected the whole time, or at least that's how he portrayed it to us. I'm not sure what he was going on the inside, but we look at him, and he's like, "I got it," and we're like, "Yeah, no, you got it, man. Like, this is gonna be great." And yeah, he did a great job and a perfect meet, so you can't ask for more than that.
That's awesome. Yeah, for sure. He's shooting for us on the U.S. 8-way team, it's to the point where sometimes you almost forget to tell him, "Hey, good job on video," because it's just you don't see anything wrong. You kind of get into the moment of the other technical aspects of flying in the formation but yeah, Elliot, if you're watching this, you're doing an awesome job, man.
The best in the business.
Yeah, for sure. So what are things like for you guys moving forward right now and preparing for the World Championships coming up in Russia?
Yeah, so it's a short training season. We leave for Russia like July 30th or 31st. So we are trying, the goal to do about 800 to 1,000 jumps this year. And then however much tunnel we can fit in as well. We're going to focus primarily on jumping. We got to catch the Belgians. It's a big gap to fill. But, I mean, everybody's beatable, so that's why we compete. So it'll be a very packed training season between now and Russia, between now and the end of July. So just a lot of jumping, a lot of training, as much as we can get.
Nice. Yeah, those guys, Belgians, the Hayabusa, They had a phenomenal meet, huh? It was just incredible to watch them.
Yeah. And they're just great people.
Yeah.
Like, they are awesome. We got coached by them a couple years ago by the brothers, Andy and Dave. And, man, they coach really well. They're great people. They're great ambassadors for the sport. Like, they were super supportive with us at nationals and, like, would help us and give us some tips and things. Or if we had questions about engineering, they would give their input. And just great people, man. Like, they're awesome. Awesome people. Can't say enough good stuff about them either.
Yeah, for sure. And that's going to be a huge challenge to try to get up to that pace in that amount of time. But just from what you guys have achieved already, it's definitely within the realm of possibility.
Oh,
and,
for sure. I mean,
with a year's worth of training and 800 jumps, that's
yeah. And like like I said, I know the way that we're going to have our training schedule built and like how we're going to train. We're going to train the smartest way possible, and the results will be there. I know it. Like, I have full faith in this. It's exciting. I'm really excited for it. It's going to be a great season, and I can't wait to get into more jumping.
And if I know we've already talked about it a little bit as far as your training plan, is that basically the training plan that you guys are going to move forward with going to the World Meet? Mm-hmm. As far as just the structure that we were talking about?
We'll do probably a little bit more like learning or research and development stuff. When we look at alternate blocks or alternate engineerings for things, and a little bit more into flow and speed stuff, just to continue to push it. Push something until it breaks, find out where it breaks, and then train in that area, and then push it again. I mean, that's kind of how you get to go faster.
Yeah, for sure. What did you learn from the nationals? Like maybe what were your biggest weaknesses that you'll have to work on to move forward to the World Meet?
Personally, or
as a team?
Man, like the team performance at nationals, it was one of those things. It was like I really believe we're all in that flow. Like, everybody just worked together. It felt easy. Everybody trusted each other. To be able to implement that again and have that same mindset and those mentalities and just the thought process, that's going to be the challenge, for anybody to be able to compete and have a group perform like that. Personally, just physical strength, like being able to get off the airplane a little bit better. Damaging my right leg, which is my drive leg off the plane, has showed a little bit. And I maybe need to be a little bit more key disciplined. I mean, I busted a 22 on that jump off because I got off a little bit early. So, physical stuff and discipline, kind of the same things that we teach everybody even when they're growing up. So
yeah, for sure. On the physical training point, you were telling me earlier about your brother. You said that your workouts have gone from the regular physical therapy to more of a standard, I guess, if you want to call it a standard workout. But if you can tell us some about that.
For sure. Yes, I mean, obviously lots of physical therapy in the very beginning, strengthening my back again. And then what people also don't think about, like even those that work in a desk, or like when I was in a wheelchair and had to sit for 4 months, like your hips and your adductors and your hip flexors and everything get really tight, and then that really limits your ability for any kind of range of motion in your hips, and especially for us flying on our bellies, being able to arch and de-arch. So like strengthening my core again, in the beginning it was just like, make sure you can walk. And now I have a better range of motion. And I just started this workout with my brother, and that's what he's studying right now at school, kinesiology and kind of sports training, things like that. And it's incredible, man. Like, because I've been an athlete my whole life, and it's usually like, here's like the 10 exercises: bicep curls, bench press, squats, blah, blah, blah. We're just going to do different sets and different reps. And he has really like personalized the workout for me. It's a lot of like exercises I've never even done before in my life, but I can feel what his long-term plan is for me of like rebuilding core strength and then getting more power back through my legs. And, yeah, it's really cool to like have my brother, who's dedicated so much of his time like learning how the body works and to maximizing its potential, for him to like have faith in me and then like build me this awesome workout. So I'm like really excited about that. And it's nice to be able to like get back into a real workout, like you said, normal workout where I can do normal things. I can squat and do things like that, which is nice. As opposed to like spell the alphabet with your foot and listen to it pop bubbles as your ankle cracks the whole time. So that's also motivating too. Like the more you can start doing stuff and seeing progress again, like setting those little goals and then seeing them be achieved, it makes you want to continue more. So
Yeah, for sure. Is there anything that stands out more than the others, specifically in your workouts, that you find have been extremely beneficial?
Yeah, like really understanding how much your core strength is involved in everything. And I can see that grow and that affect even more. Like dedicated core workouts or things like that. And then getting the flexibility back in my hips was a big problem, especially my right leg, because I had to keep my right leg elevated for like 4 months. Like it just stood out, like just laid out in front of me in a wheelchair on a bed forever. And then so like all of my hip flexors and all the muscles in here just tightened up, and like I didn't have much range of motion. But being able to get that flexibility back and then really develop my core again has made big impacts, because I started having really bad sciatic pain as well on my left side, like really bad. And then now I can feel like even in a couple of weeks of like really focusing on a core workout, it's really helped to reduce that.
Cool. So has it been any kind of movements during the workout that have helped you relax those hip muscles, or have you been doing some yoga too?
Yeah, yoga actually for sure. A couple of new stretches, like where you kind of keep your foot against the wall and keep your femur straight, which is like your quad, and then you lean forward through your hip, and it really like flex that front
That's
of
a
the hip
hard one,
flexor.
yeah.
Yeah. What do they call it? Couch stretch? I think that's
Yeah.
what they call it. Yeah, that's helped a lot for sure. And then rolling, like a foam roller, and rolling out all my legs and my back and my hips and everything. It is not the most fun experience, like to roll through all those knots, but that's helped a lot, and it reduces the pain. I mean, I don't wake up and I'm like super comfortable every day. You have a new normal, but the uncomfortability factor is way less now. Like once you can continue to work out and like get that flexibility back, and yoga is big for that as well. It really helps.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of yoga. I've got to get a hip replacement at the end of the year, and I've been having a lot of issues with that. Just got a cortisone injection yesterday, so I'll be feeling good here for the next few months. But doing a lot of yoga, and I think that's really helped, be able to continue working through this injury too.
It'll also reduce the risk of injury. Like the more flexible and the more strength you can have in all of your joints, or just in general, it reduces the risk of like any kind of injuries that you can have in the future. The more you can keep your body in shape, then hopefully the more you can reduce any kind of risk of being injured.
Yeah, I'll bet your brother's really. I'll bet it's cool for him to be able to help you and to see. I'll bet it's going to be interesting, for him to watch your progress up until the world meet.
He's really, really excited. And it's a great, he's also makes me I have to track all of my eating and my calories, because I have a weight goal as well, so I can get back down to a better flying weight for myself. And we have weekly check-ins. Actually, I'll call him pretty much every day. I'm like, hey, can you explain this for me? And he's super involved, and I don't know if he's proud or what, but it's really cool to have his extensive knowledge and helping me out in this,
Yeah, that's really cool. I think the Golden Knights have been talking to my wife Jen, and they're trying to get a more scientific approach to their training, whereas years past we kind of just went, did our usual physical training along with the Army. We just didn't chart too much, and we were kind of some of us would work out on our own too. And, we just didn't have that oversight of someone that's more knowledgeable about, from a scientific standpoint, as far as being trainers. But I think they're looking into that more this year. So I think it's really cool. The sport seems to be moving more in that direction, especially for the, for the professional teams. And I think it's going to make a difference in order for the sport to progress and get faster. I mean, you look at Hayabusa, and I think those guys have more of a scientific approach as to how they deal with things on that. But it's to get to that level and beyond, and I think it's definitely going to. Oh,
everything
to
comes into play,
yeah.
like mental preparation, emotional levels, nutrition, what you're eating before, what you're eating during, all that stuff. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm perfect and eat all the right stuff all the right time, but it definitely makes a difference. And to compete at the highest level, like getting off the airplane, exits, things like that, the better physical shape you can be in. I mean, Steve has a fantastic outside center exit, and it really helps that he is in great shape and he works out all the time. Like for him to be able to have the dynamic moves that he has out the door, I mean, if he wasn't in as good a shape, I don't think he could do it.
Yeah, that guy's twisted steel.
Pretty much. He's also so, like, we make a joke that, like, all of his bones got sharpened because if he hits you, it feels like an ice pick, man.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Well, it's
and
probably
he'll have
too
no
that
idea.
he doesn't have any body fat on there, so it probably hurts even more.
And he has no idea. Like, you'll have a black eye and be bleeding, and he's like, what, did I hit you? Like, yeah, man. Like, look at me.
I don't understand how he stays so lean either, because that dude puts more
He eats
chow
all the
weight
time,
than
man.
anybody I've
He
ever
eats
seen.
all the time. But he runs and he's active all the time. It's just, like... Like when I work out and I'm like, yeah, I feel great. And I'm like, and I look at Steve, I'm like, well, I mean, he's still doing more than I am. So like to have somebody that keeps you motivated like that is awesome.
Yeah.
So whenever I look around, like, I mean, Jeanette's analytics, I'm like, oh, God, I should be doing more like that. Like to be as fast as Andrew or to work out as much as Steve does or being as good of a shape as he is. Like just, you can see all these people and it just pushes me to be better.
For sure. And you can't help but get better when you're in that environment too, when you're surrounded by people that, I think that's one of the secrets to, being on great teams and progressing yourself, growing more as a person is being around people that make you better like that.
And I mean, you can be around people that are better than you at anything. But like when you respect the people and if you're on a team with them and you don't feel like you're giving as much as they are, and I mean, you have like you start having not doubts, but you don't want to fail and let these people down. When they're doing so much, it pushes you to be better when you respect and you want to be with those people.
You want to bring something to the table.
Exactly.
Too, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
You mentioned the mental aspect of training. Can you tell us some about yours? Like, what's your visualization process? Like, I always like to talk to the athletes here on a champion's journey because everybody's a little bit different in how they visualize. So I'd like to get your perspective on it.
So it kind of depends on the jump. If it's a memory jump or something that is a little bit more technical, I'll visualize it more. But if it's something that I'm really confident in, I'll have a couple of visualizations as the airplane takes off, and then kind of right before we handshake, and then after we handshake and getting ready to exit, like I'll go through the jump a little bit. But sometimes I've found that if I'm visualizing it too much, then I'll like almost start to doubt myself. Or I'll like visualize something wrong happening. Like I'll see it right so many times, and then I'm like, oh well, if this is wrong, and then you start getting into your own head. So at least for me, I know that I can almost hinder myself if I start thinking about it too much. Where I just like visualize it, I see it good a few times through, try to go through the whole jump. So like I'll know if I need to visualize like 5 pages or 6 pages or whatever, and then just in my mind, have that confidence in myself, be like, you got this. Like, you know what the jump is, you know what you need to do, like, go execute. If during visualization, like, I'm having a glitch or, like, I'll have even a brain lock in my visualization, then I'll continue to go through until I get it. But then there's also a point, like, you may never have the jump fully before you leave, and you just got to shut it off and give yourself some pep talk, and you got this, you're the best, go make it happen.
Yeah.
But, sometimes I found myself where I almost over-visualize, and I'll start glitching, and then I just tell myself, back off, you got this. I do a lot more like self-talk or like motivational talk to myself in the plane. And some people think that it's a little outwardly aggressive, but I like competition because that's like the reward for all the training. And the atmosphere, the mentality, the emotions, the psychology of it, like all of that, I kind of get into a different person. Like I put my headphones on, I like channel this inner person, and I get not aggressive, but I'm a little bit more attacking in that, and it's fun. It's fun to be able to be in that, where you just want to go. Controlled rage or whatever they call it, something like that.
Yeah, that was a big shift for me mentally going from 8-way to 4-way because 8-way. There's going to be a little aggression there, but I found that personally it was better for me to be on kind of in a calm state of arousal. Mm-hmm. I think 8-way is more of a waltz, even at a fast pace. It's but 4-way, I thought that I would be able to do the same thing, go with the same strategy, and I found that if I was just a little more angry, that it seemed to help some. It just gave me that little extra edge that I needed, and I think it's just because of the pace at that level.
Yeah, when you're going that fast, you need to have that pouncing attitude or that pouncing aggression. And I'll even like have some body movements and things that I do like before we're like right before the door's opening, or like moving and like kind of getting the blood flowing through my arms and my legs, like squeezing my muscles, so I know that they're like primed and ready, so I can be as ready as possible when I get
is that
up
what
there.
you were talking about when you said it was outwardly aggressive?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Some people like that kind of saw it and they're like, "Is he okay?"
I haven't even noticed that. You know,
Yeah.
I know once where, you know, like for competition, if we're on the same load, you know, I get pretty inside myself, and I haven't even noticed it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like I try to like move my arms and my legs and like try to get the blood flowing through them too. I mean, because we're sitting on the airplane for 15 or 20 minutes, and like now you're at altitude, and you don't like I don't want my muscles to be cold, so I like kind of move around a little bit and flex, and that also helps like build a little bit of aggression and rage and controlled anger. But yeah, to be in those like to be in competition mode is just so much fun. And like it's the reward for all the hard training that we get to do. So like I love it. I love to be able to turn the switch on and just go compete.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is super cool. Once you pull your helmet on, pull that
Yeah.
visor down, man, it's game on. But that's I don't know if I'll ever be able to do four-way at that level again, but it's you know, I might think about exploring that, you know, tensing the muscles a bit, because when you're with four-way especially, you're going from 0 to 160 miles an hour. You know, I mean, pace-wise, you know, that's what it feels like right out the door. You know, there's no kind of warm up to it. Four-way, you've only got 35 seconds, so it's on from the word go, you know.
Yeah, and even like the exits, like there's so much dynamic stuff that has to happen, and if it's a block out the door or even like a quick random transition, yeah, I mean you have to be like right out the door ready to keep moving. And that was actually something we talked about in training to like shorten our like first, second, third point times. Like we would just focus on 1 to 2 out the door and making that as fast as possible, and then 1, 2, 3, and we'd have goals of like 2 seconds or 3 seconds or whatever or less.
Would you get out lower when you focused on that?
We did a little bit, but no. Usually, sometimes for drop zone operations, it's just easier for us to go to 10 or 13,
Right.
depending on what's going on at what drop zones. But yeah, so like that was like part of dedicated training. We're like, okay, well, we want to work on break times and things like that. So we'd focus just on that for the jump, and that's like also how you get better. But back to that, yeah. So like getting out of the airplane, like if you're a little bit cold or relaxed or whatever, like especially if you have to do a go around, like getting back into that, you know, because we all get into this mental process and like, okay, we're about to exit, and then the red light comes back on, then we got to do a go around, and then you're like, okay, re-prep yourself, get back into that state. Because yeah, like right as you're climbing, or like for me, like as I'm climbing out, I kind of go blank. I like have this kind of creepy smile where I'm just like, let's go. I look at my teammates, I trust them, and I know that we're just going to go rip it. And yeah, like you're like right, like about to turn the switch to get into free fall. And if you have a go around or something like that, that can be a distraction. It's hard to like get your brain back into that mindset.
Yeah, we'll come back to visualization in just a second. I was curious, based on what you said about you guys focusing on that first, second, third point out the door, and it just made me wonder, what do you think separates right now Hayabusa from the rest of the pack?
There's familiarity, and in that comes trust, and in that they can just go. Like they know where everything is. They have a high level of confidence in each other. Their technique is a little bit different than some other teams. Like they're very rotational with stuff. So things are very, very small. It's very spinny, and they never stop. There is no momentum change, and they always use momentum like in the jump, or we'll take an engineering where it's a better flow. And then the reason they can do that is because one of the reasons is because they have a lot of trust and they've been together a long time. I mean, that just comes over time, like doing thousands of jumps or being together. Things are small. It's very, very rotational, and it never stops. Like if you look at their jumps, it just looks like a fluid motion all the time. Like they're always moving. Those are the big things. Like never stop, continue to move forward, use the momentum in your favor, and keep things small.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, being together for a long time, that does play a big factor on the Golden Knights with our 8-way team. You know, we had the core of our team together for, getting there toward the end, like 9 years. And that makes a huge difference because you know everybody inside and out. Mm-hmm. You have that trust in everyone, and that goes a long way for sure. That's just one of the elements, that we talked about, but it does play a big role. Getting back to the visualization, When you visualize, is it from a first-person perspective, or do you do it from a camera
Both.
perspective? Both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would think more of it is probably from a camera point of view, because I want to see like the whole formation, like all the shape changing and what's, moving that way, so I can kind of see the whole jump of what's going on, because it's also making sure that you're timing arrivals to the same time and all that stuff. And I feel like if I can see that from above, then I know what everybody's doing. You have like more of an omniscient view. I'll also visualize on the inside with, like, especially if it's a blocky jump, like the pictures that I want to see as I'm rotating through or whatever. But maybe like the omniscient view a little bit more, but definitely from both perspectives.
Yeah, nice. I do pretty much the same thing. With the four-way, I had to really do a camera perspective on it, because it was so new to me in that slot that I was having a hard time picturing getting a really clear picture on it. And taking visualization a step further, I know that the times that I've been successful, I've clearly visualized, like, up until getting onto the podium and, being in that first place spot, getting the medal hung around my neck, and just, being able to see the crowd and, just get that feeling, that true sense of having almost been there already, so that when you're competing, it just seems like things are moving you in that direction already. And that's something that I didn't have. I didn't have that confidence when I was with Airspeed at Nationals, just because I think I lacked the familiarity and the training that I needed. Do you take visualization at that level as well?
Yeah, and I think this year I had more of that. Like, when I would just look at my team, and I just knew that we were going to win. Like, I dreamt about it. I thought about the days before. Like, we just had this aura and this confidence, and I just knew it. Like, when we tied in 10, and we had already prepped 11 for the jump off, and when we saw the scores posted, we just got up and we're like, all right, let's go do this other jump and let's win now. Like, we just knew. I just knew it. Like, yeah, I visualized it. I saw it. I saw it in their eyes. I saw it in their demeanor. I saw it in us. And yeah, I just knew. I just would look at them and knew. I was like, we can't be beat right now.
It's a good feeling to have.
Yeah, it really is. And you don't get that all the time, for sure. But when you have that, and then I think that really adds it to be able to perform at that top level, to reach that state of flow and to experience those things. And it is to be able to push yourself mentally and physically to, like, enter that state of flow that they talk about in psychology is just super special and really, really cool. And when you get to experience that, man, it's just so much fun. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's super addicting too.
It is, man. It really is.
Kept me coming back. One of the things that's kept me coming back year after year to keep going. And the four-way, I never thought that I would have the opportunity to be competing against you with four-way. It's just something that kind of fell in my lap as I was getting ready to retire, and super thankful that I had that opportunity. And now Airspeed has picked up a couple new guys. Joey Marshall and Chris Kuhlman. And what do you think about that new development?
I think it's great. I think it's great to see Airspeed growing from, like, picking up people at a lower level. Not that they're at a bad level, but just like and growing the sport that way. I think it's a fantastic decision to, like, help promote the progress of the sport. Which is what we need. We need the U.S. to have a bigger draw of really high-level competitors, and this is the opportunity, and this is how it's going to happen. We have to have the big-level teams building people up from the ground up, and I think that's awesome. I think it's a really good opportunity.
Yeah, you have to have younger guys in there so that you've got the long-term potential, and I think with me, I'm getting toward the end of my career, so it just didn't make, as much sense to keep me on there, and I think, who knows what Nick and Mikhail are going to do after this next, 5 or 6 years. So it's definitely good to have some younger guys on there that can keep the train going and keep that legacy going and keep the the competition up at a high level. In the States.
Got to do it for the United States, man. We got to keep our pool the best. So.
Yeah, for sure. We'll get to final questions here in a few minutes, but I'm curious as to maybe you can tell us all about. What's your normal day like on a training day and then on a down day? So maybe some of the things more specifically I'm looking for is, like, on a down day as opposed to a training day, Are you doing a lot of visualization on that time? Do you just take time to where you just relax and don't think about it at all? If you could walk us through both scenarios.
Okay, let's start with a training day. If it's a jumping day, if it's a weekday, we are usually showing up about 8 o'clock or 8:30 because our drop zones usually open about 9. And then we'll prep all the jumps for the day in the morning. And then we'll either do like 6 or 8 straight or 10 straight, depending on if we're in Sebastian or in Chicago. And we will push through. And then we usually debrief at the end of the day, or if we have time in between loads, we'll try to look at some video. And it's pretty much like a 8 to 5 or throughout the day, because usually we can get our jumps in by that time. And then it's home, make dinner, relax, and get ready for the next day. On off days, I really believe that it is important to have time away or not dedicated. Like yeah, you should do some visualization or a little bit of work in that time, but when you get breaks and rest time, it makes your performance increase for the next time that you're there. One, like, it keeps you motivated, right? If you're doing it all the time, sometimes it loses its factor of, like...
Maybe just lose a little sharpness.
Yeah, right? And like, if you're doing it all the time, or if you get the break and you give yourself time to rest, then you come back more motivated and want to put more into it.
It's like working out, right? Your muscles need that downtime. I think, with us, training-wise, your brain needs that downtime to strengthen those neurological connections.
Absolutely, man. Especially as much
grow
as
and get better.
like as structured and as dedicated as our training is, and like all the mental that goes into it, like it's super important for the team and individuals to like take some time and just take a day and relax and go hike or do whatever you do, go work out, go have fun. It will show in the training as well.
That was my next question. What do you do to relax?
I mean, I like to be outdoors. I like hiking. I've hiked some of the Appalachian Trail. I really would like to get back into rock climbing. That was a lot of fun. I'm building the strength back in my legs so I can start climbing again. I mean, hanging out. Like, I like to sleep in the mornings too on my days off. That's always really nice. Yeah, I don't know. Go to movies, hang out, whatever. Hiking, being outdoors. I like hiking a lot. Like going on hikes and stuff like that.
Awesome. Yeah, I enjoy some of the same things. And I guess for last question, unless you have, do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
I mean, we could talk about a lot of stuff for a long time. Yeah. No, I can't think of anything.
Okay. For the last question, what advice would you have to others who are looking to embark on a champion's journey of their own?
Don't stop. And use a failure or a missed goal as motivation to keep going. Like, when we first got into the open class, we got our asses kicked. And if we use that and we just let that destroy our motivation instead of using it to push forward, then we wouldn't be where we are. So, like, take every failure as motivation to get better. Strive and pride yourself to be the best at something that you do. And just don't stop. Don't ever stop. Just keep pushing forward and keep doing it if you still love what you're doing.
Yeah, that's great advice, brother. I really appreciate it. I've got a lot of respect for you. It was great to compete with you. I wish you all the best of luck for the World Championships, and I'll be there with the 8-way team, and I'll be cheering you guys on, man.
To Russia we go.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it means a lot. Kind of honored to be here, so thank you for that.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure. Take care, brother. Thanks so much for listening to this episode, and please don't forget to like and follow A Champion's Journey podcast on Facebook and Instagram.